Somewhere in your house right now, there is a pipe carrying away water you paid for twice. You paid the first time when the utility pumped it out of a reservoir, treated it, and pushed it through your meter. You will pay again when the city treats it on the way out. In between, that water spent 4 minutes rinsing detergent out of a load of towels. Then it went down a drain and left your property. A washing machine uses as little as 13 gallons in a new front loader, closer to 40 in a top loader from the 90s. Run 4 loads a week at 30 gallons, and you are sending about 6,000 gallons a year into a sewer main. The water is warm. It is clean enough to drink as far as a plum tree is concerned, and it leaves at the exact moment your yard is turning brown under a watering restriction. There is a way to redirect it. The parts fit in a shopping bag. Most people who build one spend between $200 and $400, and once it is in, it runs on nothing. No pump, no power, no filter to change. In roughly half the United States, installing it without a permit is a code violation. In a number of states, there is no permit to apply for, which in practice means there is no legal way to do it at all. Nobody sat down and banned it. That turns out to be the more interesting half of the story. The plumbing trade has a word for this water: grey water. It covers what drains from your showers, your bathtub, your bathroom sinks, and your washing machine. Everything else is black water. Toilets, and under most codes the kitchen sink as well, because food scraps and cooking grease behave less like soap and more like sewage. The split matters because of volume. Showers and laundry alone come to roughly a third of what a household uses indoors. Add the bathroom taps, and you are approaching 40%. So the largest share of the water leaving your house never touched anything you would hesitate to put your hand in, and all of it goes out the same pipe. The system was worked out by a Santa Barbara designer named Art Ludwig, who spent decades building grey water systems and recording what failed. He called this version laundry to landscape, and its central insight is that you do not need to buy a pump. Your washing machine already has one. It has to, in order to push water up out of the drum and over the lip of a standpipe. That pump will move water 50 feet sideways and a few feet uphill without complaint. So you take the drain hose out of the standpipe and run it to a 3-way brass valve mounted on the wall behind the machine. Turn the handle one way and the machine drains exactly as it always did. Turn it the other and the water enters a 1-inch polyethylene line that leaves the building through the wall. Outside, that line splits into branches. Each branch ends over a shallow basin of wood chips at the base of a tree or a shrub, with the outlet held a few inches above the mulch so nothing siphons back toward the house. That is the entire machine: a valve, a hose, some tubing, barbed fittings, and mulch. There is no tank, because stored grey water goes anaerobic in about a day and starts to smell like a drain. There is no filter, because there is nothing to strain out when the water goes under mulch instead of through a drip emitter. There is no electricity, because the appliance is doing the work. And because the handle is right there, the whole thing reverts to an ordinary drain in 2 seconds. What you get is narrower than most people expect. It will not water a lawn. The volume arrives in surges of 30 gallons a few times a week, the wrong rhythm for turf and for vegetable beds, both of which want frequent shallow coverage across a wide area. What it suits is deep-rooted perennials, fruit trees, berry canes, hedges, established ornamentals. A mature fruit tree in summer heat drinks more than one household's laundry can supply, so most people run 3 or 4 branches and treat it as supplement rather than replacement. The money does not come from where people assume either. You are not using less water indoors. You wash the same clothes in the same machine. The saving appears in the hose you stop turning on, and outdoor irrigation is close to a third of residential use in much of the country. On septic, there is a second benefit that never shows up on a bill. Every gallon diverted is a gallon that never reaches the drain field, and drain fields fail from chronic saturation. Replacing one costs more than most kitchen renovations. So why is this difficult to do legally? Start with a fact that surprises most homeowners. Plumbing codes in the United States are not written by the United States. 2 private organizations publish the model documents. The Uniform Plumbing Code from a trade association of plumbing officials and the International Plumbing Code from a council of building officials. States and cities then adopt them by reference. A legislature votes once on a sentence naming a particular edition, and several thousand pages of technical requirement become enforceable law without a single line of it being read aloud in a chamber. Those documents descend from a body of sanitary engineering assembled between roughly 1880 and 1930 by people who had watched cholera and typhoid travel through cities in water. The principle they arrived at was simple, absolute, and enormously effective. Water that has been used is sewage. Sewage goes to a treatment works, and nothing used is permitted to touch people, food, or soil again. That rule saved a number of lives it is difficult to overstate. It also drew no distinction between what leaves a toilet and what leaves a rinse cycle, because in 1910 there was no reason to draw one. Nobody was trying to keep a lemon tree alive in Phoenix. So the prohibition is not a prohibition. It is an absence. Grey water was never assigned a category of its own, and in code language a thing without a category is a thing that cannot be approved. The inspector is not refusing you. He has nothing to write on the form. Where jurisdictions did eventually write grey water rules, most of them produced the same document, the septic chapter, shrunk, surge tank, filtration disinfection, subsurface distribution field at a specified depth, engineer's drawings, percolation test, permit fee, inspection. A system built to that standard runs into thousands of dollars and needs maintenance to move water that would otherwise have cost 15. Almost nobody built one. The rules were obeyed the way rules are obeyed when compliance costs 20 times more than the thing being regulated. Quietly, and not at all. Arizona moved first. In 2001, the State Environmental Agency created a general permit under 400 gallons a day, follow 13 listed practices, and you are covered. No application, no fee, no inspection. A homeowner in Towson went from unlawful to lawful without filling in a form. California followed in 2009 in the middle of a long drought and with a large population already doing this in their backyards. The change was written narrowly and deliberately, a clothes washer system serving a single dwelling, discharging below mulch, needs no permit at all. The state stopped pretending it could stop people and started telling them how to do it correctly. The obvious question is, whether the 1910 engineers were simply right. The honest answer is that they were right about sewage and overcautious about laundry. Grey water does carry bacteria. Fecal indicator organisms show up in shower and washing machine water because bodies and underwear are involved. But the pathogen load sits orders of magnitude below black water, and risk is determined by exposure pathway rather than by the presence of organisms. Water absorbed under 6 inches of wood chips and consumed by soil biology within hours is not a pathway. Water misted onto lettuce leaves is. Every functioning grey water code permits the first and forbids the second. The rules that actually determine whether your system works are not about disease at all. They are about chemistry and time. Chemistry means sodium. Powdered detergents are commonly built on sodium salts as filler, and sodium accumulates in soil, collapses its structure, and kills plants slowly enough that nobody connects the death to the laundry. Liquid detergent, low sodium, no boron, no bleach, nothing carrying softener salt. Time means the water keeps moving. Grey water contains sugars, skin, lint, and warmth, and in a container it turns within a day. Machine to basin, minutes, never stored. The rest of the list is short and consistent everywhere. No spraying. No pooling on the surface. Nothing on root crops or anything eaten raw. Nothing from a load of diapers, and nothing at all while someone in the house has an intestinal illness. None of this is difficult. Anyone who can attach a garden hose can build the system in an afternoon. Which returns us to the original question and to an answer nobody expects. People want a villain, a utility protecting revenue, a lobby, a manufacturer who profits from your water reaching a treatment plant. There is no such meeting. What happened is that a good rule was written for a genuine emergency. It worked, it hardened into law, and then it was copied forward for 100 years by people who had no particular reason to open it again. 2 states opened it. Most have not. Your machine will finish its cycle in about 40 minutes. Whether the 30 gallons inside goes to a treatment plant or into the roots of a tree in your yard was decided by a plumbing code written before your grandparents were born, for a city that no longer exists in the form those men were afraid of. Before you touch a valve, find out what your county says rather than your state, because the answer changes at that level. And be ready for the answer a surprising number of building departments give, which is that nobody has ever asked them before.